Grace and peace. The good news is we are here another week. We made it through last week. Can you imagine that we're almost half finished the month of January on this day, the 14th? Tomorrow, this month is almost half gone. Where does the time go? But as my father was fond of saying, time waits for, and his phrase was no man, but he meant for no person. Time doesn't wait. Come back with me now to Jeremiah. And I know it's easier just to skip this and just act like it didn't happen. You know, you want to block that out of our memory. But we really grow through experiences like this. We have a better understanding about life. I think we have a broader understanding of the circumstances in which we live. I also believe that it helps us to depersonalize, that it's not just because of me, but it's the world that I live in. And it also helps us to understand that the world that I live in, that God is in control of this world, all of this world. I believe that. And that in this world, where God is in control, things happen in areas in the world where people struggle. Now you need to remember, Jeremiah is isolated to the geographical area of Judah, Jerusalem, Egypt, and Babylon. Remember that, but that's not the whole world. Are you listening? There were other civilizations that were going on that knew nothing about this and that they knew nothing about. There were also those who lived in close proximity to the destruction of what had happened in Jerusalem that were not impacted at all by what happened in Jerusalem. I mentioned last week that there is a possibility, that lamentation, some refer to it as funeral hymns, and it's not always a pretty picture, what Jeremiah saw. It's almost like growing up and moving away and coming back and seeing the home place. One of the more devastating things I remember that where we grew up in New Jersey and how it was, had a chance to ride by there about 2 or 3 years ago, and I was just mortified to see those 2.5 acres that my daddy scrambled to own, now almost like a junk pile. And I still remember my mama taking a sage broom and sweeping that yard to keep it clean and neat. To see it now and to remember it then, it's troubling. This is what Jeremiah is saying. I remember what it was like, and now when I see it now, some folks drive through neighborhoods and say, when I grew up in this neighborhood, it didn't look like this. See, this is where Jeremiah is sitting. And he's reviewing what he sees, and he remembers what he saw, and it doesn't match. Jeremiah is looking at what he had predicted if God's people would not heed his words. After 40 years of speaking to them, Jeremiah predicted it, but he hadn't seen it. But now he's looking at it. A couple of references for you. To get a broader historical background, I would encourage reading 1st and 2nd Kings in the Old Testament. Just to read it, some novel type reading. Interested? Read Jeremiah, if you did not read the book of Jeremiah, which we spent all of 2025 with. Or if you get a chance, just to sit down and read it as a novel and just see the things that you may have missed. And also, I was thinking, and I don't know if this really fits in, but I need to throw in Isaiah chapter 14 as our jump off point as we will look at Jeremiah as he's speaking in Lamentations 2, or the second lament. And I was led to that because of something that had occurred in heaven that had, and some of us still believe, have an impact on all that occurred on earth. Now, Isaiah was probably prophesied and occurred some 200 years before Jeremiah, 150, 200 years in the dating of the different prophecies. Notice Isaiah chapter 14, verses 12 and following. Just a couple of verses for your thoughts and thinking. Listen to Jeremiah. He's talking. How are you fallen from heaven, O day star, son of dawn? How are you cut down to the ground? You who laid the nations low. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will rise above the throne, above the stars of God. I will sit on the mount of assembly of the heights of Zaphon. I will ascend to the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you are brought down to Sheol. That's a low place, the place of death, to the depths of the pit. Those who see you will stare at you and ponder over you. Is this the man who made the earth tremble? Who shook kingdoms? Who made the world like a desert and overthrew its cities? Who would not let his prisoners go home? All the kings of the nations lie in glory, each in its own tomb. But you are cast out away from your grave like loathsome carrion, closed with death, those pierced by the sword, who go down to the stones of the pit, like the corpse trampled underfoot. You will be joined with them in burial, because you have destroyed your land. You have killed your people. May the descendants of evildoers nevermore be named. This is a graphic picture of Isaiah saying that glory is aware and does not tolerate evil, and that the day comes and it will be cast down. Where? The earth. That on earth there is evil that is destructive. And we find in Lamentations 2, again, we find that same structuring, 22 verses, the first to the last verse, beginning with the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, ending in the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And when we look at this second lament, remember Jeremiah, the weeping prophet, he still got all of this stuff in his head about what he saw, what he knew, and what actually is, as he speaks to God's people in this lament about their sufferings and their sorrows. Lamentation 2, we find the Lord in his anger, as Jeremiah notices what's going on. He put a tag on this as the Lord in his anger. And those There are those who will argue now and say that God does not get angry, that because of Jesus Christ we have all love. And I can't and won't argue with your position, but that's not a holistic presentation of the God of the universe, that God is divinely disappointed and that God expressed his anger. And it's important for us to learn the lessons from them then so that we don't duplicate their behavior now towards God and one another. Chapter 2 of Lamentations. Note Jeremiah as he's writing and understands God's hand. Now remember chapter 1, the figure example was the widow, remember, and referred to she. Now in chapter 2, or the second lament, it says, how the Lord in his anger has humiliated daughter of Zion. So now we have daughter of Zion as our analogy. Oh, he has thrown down from heaven to earth. Didn't we just see that in in Isaiah chapter 14? How he has thrown down from heaven to earth the splendor of Israel. He has not remembered his footstool in the day of his anger. His footstool was his temple, his place of worship, that symbol where God was. This is a grieving prophet looking at God, the place, the geographical place. Remember the grandeur of what it was and looking at what it is. The Lord has destroyed without mercy all the dwellings of Jacob. In his wrath, he has broken down the strongholds of daughter Judah. He has brought down to the ground in dishonor the kingdoms of its rulers. How did this happen? It wasn't because Babylon was militarily stronger. Are you listening? It happened because it was God's will. And so often we divorce God's hands, I think, from too much that occurs on earth. If we don't like it, we say God had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. Notice verse 3 in reference. He referring to God. He has cut down in fierce anger all the might of Israel. He has withdrawn his right hand from them. In the face of the enemy, he has burned like a flaming fire in Jacob, consuming all around. Jeremiah is looking at flames and smoke, things that are burnt, death and dying. He has bent the bow like an enemy, with his right hand set like a foe. He has killed all in whom we have took pride. In the tent of the daughter of Zion, he hath poured out his fury like fire. This is what Jeremiah is seeing, and this is his response of how he feels about what he's seeing and what has occurred. The Lord has become like an enemy. He has destroyed Israel. He has destroyed all its palaces, laid in ruin its strongholds, and multiplied in daughter Judah mourning and lamentations. He has broken down its booth like a garden. He has destroyed his tabernacle. The Lord has abolished in Zion festival and Sabbath. And in his fierce indignation, he has spawned king and priest. The Lord has scorned his altar, disowned his sanctuary. He has delivered into the hand of the enemy the walls of his palaces. A clamor was raised in the house of the Lord on the day of the festival. the Lord determined to lay it in ruins, the walls of daughter Zion. He stretched a line. He hath not withheld his hand from destroying. He caused rampart and wall to lament. They languished together. Her gates are sunk into the ground. He has ruined and broken her bars. Her king and princes are among the nations. Guidance is no more. And her prophets obtain no vision from the Lord. The elders of daughter Zion sit on the ground in silence. They have thrown dust on their heads and put on sackcloth. The young girls of Jerusalem bowed their heads to the ground. My eyes are spent with weeping. My stomach churns, my bile is poured out on the ground because of the destruction of my people, because infants and babes in the streets of the city. They cry to their mothers, "Where is bread and wine?" as they faint like the wounded in the streets of the city, as their life is poured out on their mother's bosom. Food shortage, hunger in the midst of plenty. Pastor Jones, babies are dying in Gaza as we talk. In Somalia, babies are starving. In so-called third world countries, now that vaccine is not available, infants are dying. In many communities all around the world, persons are dying for a lack of fresh water, clean water, for food. While in other parts of the world, we're enjoying Happy Meals and throwing away half the fries. And we don't eat the bread because we don't do bread because we're trying to cut down on our carbs. This was real. Look around. Look around. Nothing is more horrific to see than a starving child. And we don't have to go and read in the book of Lamentations to see that picture. And we can stay in the West. We can stay in North America. We can come to the most major cities in these United States of America, and we'll find this very picture. And too often we're playing political games and saying it's not our fault. Who cares about fault when a baby's dying and there's something available to keep that baby alive? Jeremiah was weeping. Can I talk plain? I don't see enough of us weeping with compassion for the least of these. If I talk brutally plain, I see too many who don't care. Not my problem. As long as my house and my baby and grandbabies are fed, I don't care about nobody else. You said I could talk plain? This then, in areas of our world, is us now. Pushing? Yeah, it's okay. Read the scripture. We only have 3 more weeks of Lamentations. 2 more Bible studies. Stay with me for these 5 chapters, please. take a moment. And sometimes we like to take the bypass around that we don't like to see, or live in denial. But as people of faith, we have to take responsibility. We don't like the words of our Lord when he said, in so much as you've done it unto the least of these, you've done it unto me. Okay? These babies in verse 12, and these moms that couldn't help them, are the least of these. Verses 13 through 17 give us another thought. Jeremiah takes a breath and wipes his eyes. What can I say to you? To what compare you, O daughter of Jerusalem? To whom can I liken you that I may comfort you, O virgin daughter of Zion? For vast as the sea is your ruin, who can heal you? For vast as the sea is your ruin, for as vast as the sea, for vast as, I would say for as vast as the sea, for vast as the sea is your ruin, who can heal you? Well, let's see. Your prophets have seen for you false and deceptive visions. They have not exposed your iniquity to restore your fortune. They have seen oracles for you that are false and misleading. Everything is not all right. The bright side has not arrived yet. There's a better day coming for many, but hasn't arrived yet. Jeremiah said, don't live in denial of what is, just because you don't like it or don't want to hear it. And sometimes we want, I'm going to talk plain, we want our pastor to tell us what we want to hear. And if we don't, we get rid of them, or we go find someone who'll tell me what I want to hear. Because I don't want to hear, I want to hear what I want to hear. And I don't have to hear what I don't want to hear. But I ask you a question. If you go to your dentist and your dentist tells you that you're going to need an extraction or a filling, do you just get up and walk out of the chair and say, I don't want to hear it? Excuse me? When you go to your doctor and he looks at you and say, you overweight, do you just get up and walk out and say, I don't want to hear it? Excuse me? No. We may not exactly do what they say, but at least we hear. And once we hear, then we have the responsibility on what we're going to, how we're going to respond to it. But so often we don't give our pastors the same opportunity to speak mature teachings because we don't want to hear it. Verse 15. All who pass along the way clap their hands at you. They hiss and wag their heads at daughter Zion. Is this the city that was called the perfection of beauty? The joy of all the earth? Lord, what happened to them? Lord, I can't believe what I'm looking at. What happened? All your enemies open their mouth against you. They hiss. They gnash their teeth. They cry. We have devoured her. Ah, this is the day that we long for. At last we have seen it. You know, one of the tragedies that we live in a society where there's some people that rejoice at your downfall. I know it's only a football game, but I noticed a game the other night that when a kicker missed a field goal, people went ecstatic. I know it's only football, but they didn't think about the poor kicker who now has to live with that the rest of his life. Long as I win, it don't matter. Hey, what's that got to do with anything, Reverend Jones? They've had long enough. How much longer do we keep talking about civil rights and equal rights? How much longer do they have to have? Hello? Let me hurry along. The Lord has done what he proposed. He has carried out his threat as he had ordained long ago, and has demolished without pity. He hath made the enemy rejoice over you and exalted the might of your foe. Cry aloud to the Lord, O wall of daughter of Zion. Let tears stream down like a torrent day and night. Give yourself no rest, your eyes no respite. Arise, cry out in the night. At the beginning of the watches, pour out your heart like water before the presence of the Lord. Lift your hands to him for the lives of your children who faint for hunger at the head of every street. Look, O Lord, and consider to whom you've done this. Unbelievable. Should women eat their offspring? The children they have born? Should priest and prophet be killed in the sanctuary of the Lord? The young and the old are lying on the ground in the streets. What do we call them? Street people. My young women and my young men have fallen to the sword. In the day of your anger, you have killed them, slaughtering without mercy. You've invited my enemy from all around. For as in the day of festival and on the day of anger of the Lord, no one escapes or survives. Those whom I bore and reared, my enemy has destroyed. Many are concerned about the children and youth coming on. And I've heard talk like a generation lost. Or a population that is hopeless. Stuff like that that troubles me. Well, what do you do with this, Pastor Jones? We learn from it. It's part of the Bible. Read it. And then learn from the history about a God who is merciful, where persons in the midst of utter despair still had aspirations and trusted in God, for God is right. And the people admitted it's because of our transgressions. At what point do we admit that possibly some of the challenges that we are having are because people of faith have failed and honoring God in their lives and in his service and in his compassion for the least of these. Read it. Don't, don't run away, but read it. And, in our own way, we may have to weep a little bit ourselves. Because if you really love the Lord, you have to be sad about some of the things that are happening in this world in 2026 to the least of God's children. You have to be. Okay? Take care of yourself. We'll pick up. And again, I encourage you to go back and read some of the beginning of Jeremiah, read 1st and 2nd Kings. This is a historical period. This is something that actually happened. As we understand it biblically, it is biblical history, and it is important for us to learn lessons from biblical history so that we can be a stronger people, and a people of covenant and worship because of what we learned about our God. Take care of your health. Father, thank you for your love and presence in this time of sharing as we are yet learning how to walk more by faith and less by sight. For we do love and praise and give you thanks in Jesus' name. Amen.